Let's say you inherit $100 billion and you decide, as most people would, that you're going to use that money to fight crime. Like you say, I'm going to do Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne, only I'm going to do it in real life. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and it's actually a really important question, so I want you to give me an actual answer if you can, an actual number. How many people would you have to hire to make this work? Because you're correct that with enough money, you technically could have all of the Batman stuff. You could build an actual Batcave and a Batmobile. You could even have your own little personal fighter jet like the Batwing that's shaped like your least favorite animal. But the one part where these movies and most movies like it become pure fantasy is that you could not do it alone. Bruce Wayne and his butler could not build this facility, and they definitely could not maintain it. Tony Stark and a few of his robot friends could not build this workshop and all of the dozens of suits he winds up making. But we won't even count all the people it takes to build this stuff. Like, let's say you just bought a little fighter jet. The question is, how many full-time staff would it take to continuously be Batman, to run the operation? And I think this is actually a really important question, maybe the most important question, and I'll explain why in a moment. But just for example, like the Batwing or Batplane or whatever it's called. You know just from watching movies that for every one plane that's in the air, the Navy or the Air Force or whoever has dozens of specialized crew on the ground. Like it takes a specialized, highly trained crew just to store and transfer the fuel and to do it safely in a way that doesn't accidentally cause an explosion. It takes a completely different, also specialized crew just to load the ordnance and the bullets and the missiles. There's yet a different group of guys that update the software, the avionics. And if something goes wrong with the plane, who works on it depends entirely on what went wrong. The engines alone have something like 20,000 parts. And this same thing applies to everything Batman owns. The Batmobile has a jet engine in it, but he also has a vast computer network in the Batcave. It's not that it would take a specific number of people, it's that it would take a specific number of hours of expertise to keep all of this working. But in the movies and the comics, it's always just Bruce Wayne and one other guy. And that's because I believe that the real fantasy here isn't about power or wealth or about bringing about change. But rather, what if I had all of the output of highly trained labor, but without having to deal with the workers? And I'm not just picking on superheroes here, because this is the fantasy of any kind of magic. Like, our world can give you some sort of a device that flies you around, just like the broomstick in Harry Potter. Because we have stuff that is effectively magic. The thing that you're watching this video on is magic. It's just that to make the magic happen requires the expertise of hundreds of thousands of people. Like, you need a tiny version of this. Likewise, if you wanted to make Spider-Man's web shooters, if you went to the largest chemical companies in the world, you went to DuPont or 3M and said, make me a fluid that does what his web shooters do. With a few years and a budget of, I don't know, $1 billion, maybe they could come up with something. But it would be the product of thousands of chemists who combined have millions of hours of expertise, themselves drawing on the knowledge base from the people that came before them. And the reason that, well, what if I could just make this in my bedroom by myself with help from no one? The reason that's so appealing is that we all secretly hate and resent how much we depend on the labor of other people. Like, if I have some tacos DoorDash to my house, if I look at this and say, what of this could I have done on my own? Maybe growing the lettuce, maybe. But if you sit down and try to calculate how many separate human beings it took to get this into your hands, it is impossible. The number does not fit into your mind. Think about how many people it took just to raise and feed the cow and to care for it when it got sick. The same with the cheese and the shell and the wrapper. And all of this had to be transported from place to place. So now you've got all of the roads and the vehicles and the fuel. All of the 1,000 parts inside each vehicle manufactured all around the world. All of the raw materials that had to be mined, and all of the people in cubicles in front of computers working on spreadsheets to organize all of this. Because our society is so hyper-specialized that there is an entire category of people who are lifelong experts just in how to grind the spices. That somebody out there spent an entire year of their life developing this font. And we like to think of ourselves as being strong and in control of our lives and of our destiny. But even in our fantasies, it's not true, because in the background you see software running on his monitors, and that had to be coded by somebody. That the only reason he can fly out and fight Thanos in his suit is because somewhere there are people grinding away at his code. People who probably hate their jobs, or at least don't see the point. But in the Avengers, when the Hulk grabs an alien and smashes him into the side of the building, I always imagined him accidentally taking out this office full of people writing the code for Iron Man's suit. So I asked the original question again: how much specialized labor would it take to be Batman? And then maybe you can also ask, how much specialized labor was required for you to be able to watch this video?